Before I get started with this, I have to give a shout out to Harvey because he did a video talking about this, and I believe Lisa Cabrera also did one as well, talking about the topic I'm going to discuss as it pertains to Nikki Haley today. So I don't think I've ever done a video about Nikki Haley before, so this might be the first one, and it's a very interesting one at that, considering the comments that she just recently made. So this woman actually came out of her mouth in a not so surprising way and was calling on the governor of New York, Kathy Hochul, to pardon Daniel Penny for what he did to Jordan Neely in New York. And I'm sitting here saying to myself, a pardon. Usually pardons are given to people who are already locked up and been convicted of a crime, in which Daniel Penny has not been. He's just been arrested and charged. And he's not even in jail right now. He hasn't even gone to to trial, if there's even a trial, to be found guilty or not guilty of anything. So I'm sitting here saying to myself, why is she asking for a pardon? Like, that's the weirdest thing to me. But okay, fine, whatever. But what also gets me is something else that she said along with this that I've noticed a lot of PC individuals in particular, especially them right-leaning ones, use when it comes to Daniel Penny, and that is the fact that he used to be in the military via the Marines. Because she has a quote where she says that it is in Penny's blood to defend and protect because he served in the military. So basically what they're saying is that if you were in the military, whether active or no longer active, discharged or honorable or dishonorably discharged, that you have the right to pretty much do whatever you feel is right. If you just feel something is a threat, not something that is, if you just feel something is a threat, you have every right to go and dispose of said threat, even if it isn't. That's basically what she's saying. They probably don't realize it in the, you know what, I take that back. I'm not gonna give them that much grace, that much leeway. They do realize what they're saying. They're banking that we don't pick up on their saying it because of the tone in which they're speaking in. But we understand it perfectly. I'm gonna read this article coming from NBC News that was posted May 17, 2023. Republican presidential candidate Nikki Haley has called on New York Governor Kathy Hochul to pardon the Marine veteran who was seen in a video putting Jordan Neely in a fatal chokehold on a New York City subway this month. Neely, a homeless subway busker who performed dance routines in costume as Michael Jackson, was pronounced dead after Daniel Penny put him in a chokehold for about 15 minutes after a verbal dispute escalated that into an altercation, according to police. Notice it said according to police. The video showed two other subway riders appearing to help restrain Neely. In an interview Tuesday night on Fox News, Haley urged Hochul, a Democrat, to pardon Penny. She's quoted as saying, "No question about it. She needs to pardon him right away. It's the right thing to do." These are her words. Now, keep in mind, this is a woman that's running for president saying this. Keep in mind also that Ron DeSnowflake, who is another person who, as far as we know, was running for president, pushed the crowdfunding for Daniel Penny, which is how he got over $1 million in less than a week, and is now over 2 million within a week. I want y'all to keep this in mind. These are people who are running for president on the Republican ticket. I just want people to keep this in mind. Look at how hard they're going for one person and what they did to a black man. And they're running for president. The reason why I'm banging on that beast is because no longer, if they could be, let's just say hypothetically, one of them became president and beat Joe Biden. Look at what they did with what they're urging right here and what they're supporting right here. Imagine that on a federal level. Right now, they're just over their states. They're just governors of their states. Imagine with what they could do with the power to be running all 50 states and those 2 territories and whatever else they have their hands in. I just want people to be aware of that. She says it's the right thing to do. She argued that it is in Penny's blood to defend and protect as someone who served in the military. Well, I got a question for Nikki Haley. What if it came out that Jordan Neely was in the military? So what would you call that? And it's funny too, because wasn't Chris Dorner, Micah Johnson, and Gavin Long also in the military too? I wonder what she had to say about that, because wasn't Nikki Haley, I don't know if she was governor at the time of Chris Dorner, but I believe she had some kind of position in 2016 when it came to Micah Johnson and Gavin Long at that time. Someone can correct me if I'm wrong. I wonder what she had to say about that. But see, they flipped it. They spin the narratives on those three so much. But we over here know exactly what it is. She goes on to say he saw danger, Haley said. He was trying to protect himself and the other people on that subway, and the idea that Bragg would go and indict him this way without an investigation, without any sort of grand jury, really what I think needs to happen. See how on code they get? And keep in mind, Nikki Haley isn't quote unquote white per se. She wants to be white adjacent, but she isn't white by definition. But she does their bidding, I'll put it that way. They feel Daniel Penny did absolutely nothing wrong. Goes back to what I've been saying over and over again, that when black people defend themselves, then it's a problem. But when they quote unquote defend themselves, they're the all-American hero. And the fact that this guy was in the military via the Marines, now they're really painting him more than out than what he needs to be. I'm going to tell you like this before I go on with the article. This is going to have a double-edged sword effect. If Daniel Penny, let's hypothetically say in a perfect world, actually got convicted of what he did, PC and their co-colonizing cohorts are going to flip out. And black people are going to have to really be on guard then. That's number one. On the flip side, if Daniel Penny doesn't, then people are still going to flip out behind that decision, and black people are still going to have to be on guard, because now they've been emboldened. Because keep in mind, Daniel Penny is not a cop. This is very different, vastly different from other previous situations. One of the exceptions, of course, being the McMichaels, but I don't like using them as an example because Greg McMichael used to be in law enforcement. I'm talking about someone who has never been a cop at all, at any point, current or not current. Daniel Penny has never been in law enforcement. Remember, I put up a short video the other day where the National Police Association basically praised what he did and helped promote that crowdfunding, that Give, Send, Go. But keep in mind, Daniel Penny's dad, it was in internal affairs. So he has a tie to law enforcement, but he himself has never been in law enforcement. So technically he would be deemed just a regular civilian. Keep this in mind. If he completely walks away from this unscathed, it's going to embolden them even more than most of them already are. But they need this win in order for them to say, okay, that's the green light that I needed to go out and do what he did. And all I have to do is say, I felt threatened or I was defending myself, so I'm just going to go and put any and everybody in a chokehold. It was a video that resurfaced where it was this Asian woman. I think I talked about her, where she was being loud and belligerent and cussing everybody out on the train. And we actually see the video of that. And I think that happened in New York. Like, she was getting in people's faces and all types of things like that. But no one came from behind her and put her in the chokehold for 15 minutes. Gee, I wonder why. Let me get back into this. Haley also accused Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg of letting street crime happen all over New York City. So what you trying to say, Nikki? Are you trying to say all street crime, quote unquote, is happening by black people, even though New York City is one of the most diverse cities in the world? Okay. Criminals will continue to rule the streets of New York because they will know that there's no accountability for anyone who tries to stop them, she said. And if she pardons him, that sets a right on a lot of things. It'll put criminals on notice, and it'll let people like Penny, who really were very brave in that instance, It will let them know that we've got their back. I'm trying to figure out what the hell was so brave about what Daniel Penny did. He came from behind and put this man in a chokehold for 15 minutes. Jordan Neely was most likely already dead in his arms before he finally let go. And I'm telling you, there's a lot of stuff that's going on with this case that they're leaving out, and they need to put it in there because, like I said, it emboldens people like a Nikki Haley or a Rhonda Snowflake or a Vivek Ramaswamy or whoever to continue to back what Daniel Penny did. And of course, the ones online, I see them all the time on Twitter with the blue check or even not having a blue check, saying how much of a hero Daniel Penny is. This is exactly why Rob at Blacklight Revelation says black people need to embrace villainy, because look at who they helm up as heroes. Like I said, Daniel Penny to me could be comparable to freaking Homelander in The Boys. Those who watch The Boys knows exactly what I'm talking about. Homelander is far from a hero, even though he gets praised as one. And it's funny because The Boys are seen as the villains. Go figure. Penny was arraigned on a second-degree manslaughter charge that Neely family suggested was too lenient. And it is. Attorneys for Neely's family said he suffered from mental illness after his mother was murdered in 2007. Juan Alberto Vasquez, a witness who partly captured the incident in a video recorded on his cell phone, told NBC New York that Neely got on the subway car and began saying that he was hungry and thirsty and that he didn't care about anything. He didn't care about going to jail. He didn't care that he gets a big life sentence. Neely also said that it doesn't even matter if I die, according to Vasquez. Now, notice what Jordan Neely was saying. He said he didn't care about a lot of things, going to jail, dying, life in prison. But what he did care about was getting something to eat and getting something to drink. That's all he cared about. And I showed part of that video in the live stream that I did, and then I cut it and made it into its own separate video when it came to Daniel Penny, and it was called Daniel Penny's arrest and charges, and a new video about Jordan Neely popped up, something along those lines. In that video that they don't spread around, Jordan Neely was not being loud, he wasn't being ignorant, he wasn't being boisterous, and all these things they claim what he was doing. So how did it go from that to putting him in the chokehold? That's why I said I wish the person recording this could have recorded the entire thing leading up to that. That would have really showed a set of precedents. Because I don't believe for a second that Jordan Neely was going crazy like they claim he was. You know, when it comes to black people, they always got to overextend it. They got to over-exaggerate it. They got to put a little extra in there, a little extra oomph in there just to say, oh, they were acting this way. Oh, they were acting that way. Neely's death has sparked a national debate, with people denouncing vigilantism and some politicians demanding that officials do more to address homelessness, mental health, and violence on subways. Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez said Bragg should have charged Penny immediately. She also criticized New York Mayor Eric Adams for not condemning the killing in a statement. She also called Adams' statement a new low, not being able to clearly condemn a public murder because the victim was of a social status some would deem too low to care about. Demonstrators protesting Neely's death gathered on crowded subway platforms across New York City and marched down streets in the days after the incident. Advocacy groups and Neely supporters have demanded justice for his killing, better social services for people with mental health issues, and reform to local policies that they say further marginalize unhoused communities in the city. Meanwhile, right-wing political figures and groups have compared Penny to a good Samaritan who rescued the public from danger. They make it seem like Jordan Neely was freaking Galactus, like he was about to gobble up the New York subway line. But see who they hold up as a hero and who they label the villain. This is historical right here. It said, let's show this Marine America's got his back. Republican governor from Florida, Rhonda Snowflake. Representative Matt Gaetz similarly called Penny a subway Superman. And you know what's ironic that I mentioned Homelander from The Boys? For those of you who are unaware, or for those of you who do know, Homelander aesthetic on the show The Boys is that of Superman. But These heroes on that show are far from good, especially his character. As a matter of fact, this past season, one could argue that his character was almost like how Trump is, if Trump was a superhero. Well, quote unquote. But in all negative and dark aspects. Like I said, if y'all haven't seen the show, you wouldn't know what I'm talking about. But if you do watch the show, you know exactly what I mean. DeSantis and Gates promoted a campaign to raise money for Penny's legal defense that was set up on GiveSendGo, the Christian crowdsourcing platform that has also been used to raise money for some people arrested in the January 6th Capitol riot. And I actually talked about that in my live stream, that I did this past Sunday. I think it was Sunday. Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene tweeted that Penny is a hero and that Neely was a violent criminal who should have been behind bars. Fox News host Sean Hannity also depicted Penny as a brave veteran who, quote unquote, subdued Neely. Peep all the people, again, who keep calling Daniel Penny a hero. All of these people have said anti-black things at least 5 times. So I'm not surprised that this stuff is coming out of their mouths. All of them are anti-black. Now I wonder how they would feel if the roles was reversed and Daniel Penny was Daniel Penny was the homeless person and Jordan Neely was the ex-Marine. I have a feeling that it will be a different tune. They probably would have been saying the same things that we were saying when it came to how the roles are now. Why did he do it? You didn't have to do that. So on and so forth. I'm willing to bet that's how it would have been. And they would have been calling for him to be arrested immediately. Throw the book at him immediately. Nikki Haley would not have made a call to Kathy Hochul. That line would have been clear. She wouldn't have even texted or FaceTimed her if she had an iPhone. The tune would be a whole lot different. And they know it. We know it. This is just who they are. I've come to accept that. This is who they are. There is no way you can reason with that. What is the phrase? You don't negotiate with terrorists? As far as I'm concerned, that's exactly what Daniel Penny was being in that moment. Of course, they would disagree and say that, well, Jordan Neely 40 this and 40 that. Everyone has a past. I'm sure of it. I wonder what's in Daniel Penny's past that they're hiding. Because I have the strongest feeling that they probably helped him scrub the internet of his social media and all types of stuff like that. I forgot who it was that said it. They said this guy's 24 years old and he has no social media. Okay. I highly doubt that. But yeah, that's what Nikki Haley said. Keep in mind, these are the same people that got mad at Donna when he brought about her age and being past her prime. She got upset about that. And again, granted, we don't really care about Don, but at the end of the day, Don Lemon's a black man and look at who she chose to be outraged with. A lot of people have said stuff about Nikki Haley, but when black people say stuff about her, and then that's when she decides to bark back. And if something happens to black people, that's when she decides to chime in. Hence what she just did right here. But like I said, Nikki Haley, Ron DeSantis, these two are running for president in 2024. I just want people to keep that in mind because what they're doing right here is going to set up for whatever platform they may have should one of them get elected. They're setting the stage right now to garner those votes. She probably feels that this was a good presidential thing for her to do. Let me go ahead and chime in when I didn't have to, but I'm going to go ahead and do it anyway. And call Kathy and say, you need to pardon him. Again, that's the strangest thing to me that she would call and ask to have him pardoned when he hasn't been convicted of anything. It says it right here. A pardon is an expression of the president's forgiveness and ordinarily is granted in recognition in the applicant's acceptance of responsibility for the crime and establish good conduct for a significant period of time after conviction or completion of a sentence. Daniel Penny has not been convicted of a crime, and he hasn't served any time in jail. So I don't know where the hell she pulled that from. Probably from the empty hollow crevice she calls a head, because I swear there ain't a brain up there. Man, listen. I don't know what's going on in the state of South Carolina. I said on one hand, you got her as a governor, then you got Clyburn as a representative, and you got Tim Scott as a senator. It's three people down there running a goddamn three-ring circus, and it's failing badly. But like I said, keep this in mind. She's running for president, and so is Rhonda Snowflake. And these are their views about one person that killed a black man on that train up in New York. And both of them aren't even representatives for the state of New York. Go figure.